Today I have an interesting binocular for repair. Carl Zeiss Jena 7x40 BGA. This is the civilian version of one of the most famous military binoculars of the Cold War. Carl Zeiss Jena 7x40 EDF NVA. This model is an updated version of an older binocular with poro prisms. In the newer design, the use of the compact Schmidt and Pechan roof prism made the binoculars lighter, more compact and more sealed, while still maintaining military-grade durability. These binoculars were produced from 1980 to 1990. The main specifications of this binocular: it has 7 times magnification and 40 mm objective lenses. The exit pupil is 5.7 mm. The field of view is 130 meters at a distance of 1 kilometer. This binocular has individual focusing on each eyepiece. The minimum focusing distance is about 5 meters. The binoculars are not light, they weigh approximately 1 kilogram. And as you can see, the body is fully rubberized. Speaking of this rubber coating, there's also the marking GA here, which means that the binocular's body is rubberized. The letter B means that these binoculars will be comfortable for people who wear glasses. These eye cups here, as you can see, are rubberized and they have an opening right here. So that means when you're looking through the binoculars and you're pressing them up against your eyes, the eyepieces on the outside shouldn't fog up at all. I'll tell you a bit about the military version of these binoculars. The military version had a rangefinder scale in the right eyepiece and illumination, but the illumination worked without batteries. This illumination allowed you to see the scale at night. Inside the binoculars there was a small sealed capsule containing tritium. Tritium is an isotope of hydrogen, and it has very weak beta radiation. This radiation is 1,000 times weaker than when you, for example, get a dental X-ray at the dentist's office. This beta radiation excites the phosphor, and that produces a very soft greenish glow. This system operates completely autonomously without batteries, and it works for many years. But the key question here is for how long? The half-life of tritium is 12 years. So this means that after 12 years, the brightness of the glow will decrease by about half. After, well, for example, 25 years, the brightness will decrease fourfold. So after 30 or 40 years, the glow will be either barely noticeable, or it won't be visible at all. Based on the serial number, which is 6264419, we can determine that it was manufactured back in the year 1983. That means it is now 43 years old, which is quite impressive. And if this were a military model with illumination, it wouldn't be working anymore. And now, keep this in mind, optics lovers. Any pair of binoculars can be damaged, even this tank in the world of optics. Nothing is truly shockproof. If you drop these binoculars from a significant height onto a very hard surface, they're going to sustain some kind of damage. That's exactly why I have these binoculars. I'm going to need to restore them in some way or another. If you can see, and maybe it's visible to you, this mount right here is just a little bit bent. Take a look. It wants to straighten out a little, but in reality it's bent over this way. It doesn't seem like much, but the binoculars are already showing double. If you take off this rubberized coating, you can see the exact point of impact. Here, in this spot, there's a dent, and the lens retaining ring is also deformed. Whether I'll be able to do a conditional alignment on this binocular, I don't know yet. There's a metal clip on the inside here that you can pry up. And remove the rubber coating. The rubber coating is removed toward the eyepiece. This is quite convenient, unlike in modern binoculars where there's sealant that you have to tear off. Well, it's not exactly hard to remove the sealant, but this is more convenient. You have to agree. The metal clip makes the job much easier. So, what do I have at this stage? The binoculars essentially are not disassembled at all. As for unscrewing the eyepiece, well, it has some condensation here, so I'll wipe it off, this surface on the lens. Overall, all the other surfaces are very clean, so I will try to handle this eyepiece very carefully, so that I don't have to wipe down all the other surfaces. For now, I don't have the ability to access the adjustment screws. I tried to unscrew the retaining ring, but it's not working, it's screwed on really tight. According to the diagram, the lens here consists of two elements with an air gap between them. And the diagram indicates that there's an intermediate ring somewhere around here. Is this intermediate ring just there to keep the two lenses from touching each other? Or maybe there's a spacing ring here? I'm not 100% sure. Right at this very moment, I am carefully trying to somehow find a way to get them out. Look here, you can see there are 3 specific plugs. Well, so far I honestly haven't quite figured out the best way to safely remove them from their position. It is proving to be much more difficult than I first expected. Here, take a look at the eyepiece. I don't want to take out all the lenses completely because, as I told you before, it is very, very clean. Here I'll show you a diagram of the eyepiece and you can take a look at it. At the moment, there are vapors only on this surface, which is closest to the prisms, so I will very gently wipe it and reassemble it back into the binocular body. How will I do this? I'll show you beforehand. Now, you will need to carefully place the main binocular body directly over the lenses from above. Just like this, and then slowly screw it on until it is completely secure. Listen, honestly, look, I've already wiped down the entire lens with a cloth just now. There are no vapors on it anymore. So, right here, I decided to actually show you exactly what I came up with to unscrew this stubborn cap. To be honest, I really couldn't think of any other effective method at the time except to carefully glue a screwdriver onto it and then try to slowly turn it. So this is exactly how everything ended up turning out for me in the end. As you can clearly see right here, the cap is still stuck inside. Well, I am really hoping that it will manage to come out of there sometime very soon. I've never had a binocular this complicated before. Actually, this is my first time taking it apart. And you won't find a video like this anywhere else on YouTube. You won't believe it. There's nothing inside. I don't see any screw here. I'll think about it, try to figure out what to do next. I'll get in touch with the owner of the binoculars to ask if he agrees for me to unscrew the other caps using the same method. Take a look at this cap. As you can see, on the inside, it has a slot for a screwdriver. So, as I understand it, these caps were screwed in at a time when the binoculars didn't yet have any lenses or prisms. Honestly, everything is made so complicated. Why couldn't they just make a slot for a screwdriver on the outside? It's a mystery to me. And now I'm going to tell you everything just as it is. I struggled with this binocular for about 2 days, and I managed to almost completely take it apart. Right now, I've reassembled it so I can show you how it's all done. A few important details. You don't need to unscrew this screw. Actually, you don't even need to unscrew this specific screw either. It was covered with something like this. I dug around here, well, in this spot, and found a screw like this right here. What role it serves, I still don't know. I also managed to get to these 2 specific screws right here, number 1 and number 2. How do you do that? Well, sometimes it was easy and sometimes it was quite difficult. For example, in this spot, I still can't reach the screw. Here, you need to stick a knife in from the edge and pry out the plug. This is the kind of plug I'm talking about, just so you know. Here's how I managed to remove one plug. As you can see, it's almost undamaged. And take a look at what I did to the other one. Of course, I'll lightly sand and paint it later, but things don't always turn out the way you'd like. Under those plugs, there are two screws that hold the prism block in place. Now let's move on to the eyepiece. I'll just show you how you can completely disassemble it. Of course, all the threaded connections here are already loosened because I've already unscrewed them, but at first it was quite difficult. Next, if we take a wrench like this and unscrew it. You've already seen the structure of the eyepiece, so I won't be unscrewing the lenses. And here, as you can see, is the prism block. I want to tell you that so far I haven't figured out how this binocular is collimated. Perhaps there are some collimation rings hidden inside here, but I simply can't seem to unscrew this stubborn retaining ring. I really don't want to risk causing any permanent damage to the delicate optics. So for now, the big remaining question for me is this. Exactly how do I go about properly collimating these binoculars? As you can see now, everything unscrews quite easily. Well, actually it was really difficult to unscrew it the first time. The grease that was on the threads here had become extremely hardened. It was almost like glue. This part comes off. The diaphragm is blackened on the inside. It seems to me that it would be much more reliable if this diaphragm had a thread and could be screwed in here. As it is, there's probably a small risk that it could come off. Now at this point, let's smoothly transition over to discuss the prisms in more detail. So, you might be wondering, why did I even start messing around with this half in the first place? Well, it is honestly all because I simply can't reach these specific plugs back here. And I thought to myself, well, if I can somehow manage to do a sort of rough alignment using the right half, then I won't bother with the left half at all. How do you remove the prism block? Hold it in place and unscrew it. Here's what the prism block looks like. 2 Schmidt-Pekin prisms. Everything here, in my opinion, is made very reliably. You will notice that all of the individual screws are securely glued in place, and throughout the entire assembly, they consistently use these small protective rubber gaskets. For a specific example, just look right here. The metal screw is firmly screwed in and presses directly against the optical prism. But there is a specialized rubber gasket positioned there specifically so as not to cause any accidental damage to the delicate glass surface. Well, probably 90% sure I won't be touching this prism block, and I won't be unscrewing or cleaning anything here. There's a very light coating here, barely noticeable, but it's very risky to try to clean it. You could actually make things worse. So I'll just carefully blow a bit of compressed air through it, and then I will attempt to gradually align the image perfectly. There's nothing interesting inside, just a tube into which the prism block is inserted and screwed in. Of course, there is a bit of damage, but believe me, it will all be neatly painted over later. I'll add some rubber padding and it will be almost unnoticeable. The main thing here is to restore the binoculars' conditional alignment, because if it has double vision, well, it's basically a suitcase without a handle. Do you agree with me? Now you can take a look at the photo of the prisms and the diagram of the prism block. Number 8 indicates that this is the alignment screw. Well, to be honest, I looked at it and still couldn't figure out how it can be adjusted or aligned. Well, I'm very happy because I managed to do it. I just looked through the binoculars from a distance of about 10 to 15 centimeters from my eyes. I turned it like this, looked into the binoculars from different angles, and the image doesn't double. What did I do? I unscrewed. I'll even unscrew it now and show you. I carefully unscrewed the binoculars just like this. Probably about 15 different times in total. It just wouldn't work. I carefully took out the glass prism, and then I slowly tried to put something that was about 1/2 millimeter thick directly between the main camera body and the prism itself to see if it would fit correctly. And I kept screwing it back together, and it took quite a lot of time, but it just wouldn't work. And then I decided that I would unscrew the eyepiece and insert something from the eyepiece side. I'll tell you this, it's much easier. So you just slightly loosen these screws. The prism kind of moves down, then you insert something between the body and the prism and tighten it back up. I tried inserting it in different places, starting from here. I shifted it little by little in turn like this, and I managed to achieve that. Now the binoculars don't double the image at my interpupillary distance. As you can clearly see right here, I have carefully placed exactly half of a metal washer in this spot. The total thickness of this piece measures approximately 1 millimeter in width. After all, the impact was quite strong. There is a displacement, so I had to, well, this thickness of 1 millimeter is actually quite significant. So, what needs to be done now? Everything needs to be carefully cleaned again, blown out with air, so that all the dust is removed from here. I'll add a little bit of lubricant and then gradually, bit by bit, start assembling and screwing everything together. Take a look at this. Well, it seems like almost everything worked out. Honestly, I wasn't sure I'd be able to restore it properly at all, but in the end, it looks like everything turned out well, and I cleaned it. Well, of course, without the prisms. Yeah, I managed to fix it up and even touch up the damaged paint. Take a look at the final result. You can barely see the damage now. Considering the fact that there are absolutely no official video instructions or manuals anywhere on how to properly repair or disassemble this specific model of binocular, I think we can easily overlook my rather crude and unconventional methods for unscrewing these stubborn caps. Now, this classic Carl Zeiss is finally back in action and ready for use once again. The repair video turned out a bit lengthy, over 20 minutes, so I'll pause here for now. But you can see how it performs in the next part of our video series, which will be released very, very soon.